The opening of the Belfast to Comber line on the 6th of August 1850 proved that the Belfast and County Down Railway could succeed. Passengers embraced the new service, businesses quickly recognized its value, and it wasn't long before the company set its sights on something far bigger. Their goal was no longer simply to reach Comber. It was to build a railway network that would stretch across County Down. The success of the first line showed exactly what steam power could achieve. Journeys that had once taken hours by horse and cart could now be completed in a fraction of the time. Farmers were getting their produce to Belfast's markets while it was still fresh, merchants could receive goods more reliably, and ordinary people suddenly had opportunities to travel that previous generations could scarcely have imagined. For the directors of the Belfast and County Down Railway, this was confirmation that they had made the right decision. Yet they knew the railway's future depended on one thing above all else: expansion. A railway ending at Comber was useful. A railway reaching the great market towns of County Down would be transformative. But extending the line was far more complicated than simply laying more rails across the countryside. Every extension required new acts of Parliament, allowing the company to construct additional sections of railway. Investors needed convincing that the money they contributed would eventually produce a return. Engineers had to survey every proposed route, calculating gradients, identifying suitable bridge locations, and ensuring the locomotives of the day could safely operate over the new line. The Belfast and County Down Railway also faced another challenge: land. Unlike modern infrastructure projects, there were no compulsory purchase systems in the form we know today. Every estate, every farm, and every field had an owner whose cooperation or legal agreement had to be secured before construction could begin. Negotiations could take months, and sometimes even years. Many landowners welcomed the railway. They recognized that easier transport would increase land values and improve access to markets. Others remained deeply skeptical. Some feared that steam locomotives would frighten livestock. Others worried about smoke, noise, or the division of their estates by an embankment or cutting. Railway companies across Britain and Ireland frequently encountered opposition, and the Belfast and County Down Railway was no exception. Eventually, agreements were reached, and the surveyors returned. Armed with measuring chains, theodolites, and detailed maps, they walked mile after mile across County Down. Every valley, stream, and hillside had to be carefully examined. The work was exhausting. The men responsible for building these railways became known as Navvies, a name originally taken from those who had worked on Britain's canal network before railways became the country's dominant form of transport. Life as a navvy was exceptionally hard. They worked from dawn until dusk in all weather, digging through clay, gravel, and solid rock using little more than picks, shovels, and wheelbarrows. Gunpowder was sometimes used to blast particularly stubborn rock formations before the debris was cleared entirely by hand. The work was dangerous. Accidents were common, heavy machinery was almost non-existent, and every embankment represented thousands of tons of earth moved through sheer physical effort. Despite the hardships, railway construction provided employment for hundreds of men at a time. Temporary settlements appeared close to major works, with laborers living in basic accommodation while the line slowly advanced across the county. Behind the navvies came another army of skilled workers. Stone masons carefully built bridges that have survived for well over a century. Carpenters produced platforms, roofing timbers, and station buildings. Blacksmiths forged countless iron fittings, while local quarries supplied vast quantities of stone for bridges, culverts, and retaining walls. Every mile of railway represented the combined effort of hundreds of people. Once the earthworks had been completed, gangs began laying the permanent way. Timber sleepers were positioned at carefully measured intervals before heavy iron rails were secured in place. Each length of track had to be aligned precisely. Even slight errors could result in excessive wear or unsafe running. Alongside the tracks came another essential piece of Victorian engineering: the telegraph. As the railway expanded, telegraph wires were erected alongside many sections of line, allowing stations to communicate far more quickly than ever before. Messages that once required a messenger on horseback could now be transmitted in minutes, making railway operations both safer and more efficient. The stations themselves became symbols of progress. Many communities had never seen buildings designed specifically for railway passengers. Stations often included waiting rooms, booking offices, goods sheds, loading banks, and accommodation for station masters. Water towers supplied steam locomotives, while sidings allowed freight wagons to be loaded without obstructing passenger services. The arrival of a station often transformed an entire village. Hotels appeared nearby, shops expanded, markets attracted larger crowds. Businesses that had once depended entirely upon local customers could now receive goods from Belfast and beyond. For farmers, the railway was nothing short of revolutionary. County Down had long been one of Ireland's most productive agricultural regions. Cattle, sheep, grain, butter, potatoes, and other produce formed the backbone of the local economy. Before the railway, reaching Belfast could involve an entire day's journey over roads that were often muddy, uneven, and difficult during winter months. Now those same goods could travel by rail quickly, predictably, and in far greater quantities. Coal was equally important. Steamships brought huge quantities of coal into Belfast's docks. From there, railway wagons distributed fuel across County Down, supplying homes, businesses, and workshops that had previously depended upon slower transport by road. The railway was becoming far more than a passenger service. It was the county's commercial lifeline. As construction continued southwards from Comber, anticipation grew in every community along the proposed route. Children gathered to watch construction gangs at work. Farmers paused in nearby fields to observe the strange new machines and steam-powered equipment that occasionally appeared on site. Newspapers regularly reported on the railway's progress, recognizing that each completed mile represented another step towards a more connected County Down. After years of determined construction, the railway eventually reached Downpatrick. The arrival of the railway in one of Ireland's oldest towns marked a turning point in the company's history. Downpatrick had served for centuries as a center of administration, religion, and commerce. Linking it directly with Belfast strengthened trade throughout eastern County Down and dramatically reduced travel times for both passengers and freight. For local businesses, opportunities expanded almost overnight. Livestock could be transported more efficiently. Agricultural produce reached larger markets. Manufactured goods from Belfast arrived more quickly than ever before. Mail traveled faster. Newspapers reached towns while the day's news was still current. The railway had become woven into everyday life. Yet even before the celebrations surrounding each new extension had ended, the directors were already considering the future. Downpatrick was never intended to be the final destination. County Down contained fishing ports, market towns, and seaside resorts that remained beyond the reach of the expanding railway. If the Belfast and County Down Railway could connect them all, it would create one of the most important privately operated railway systems in Ireland. Engineers began examining possible routes beyond Downpatrick. Some proposals looked towards the fishing harbor at Ardglass, where generations of fishermen had supplied catches to local markets. Others considered Ballynahinch, an important market town whose growing industries would benefit enormously from direct railway access. Further south lay Newcastle. At this point in history, Newcastle was already attracting visitors, but few could have imagined the transformation that the railway would eventually bring. Holidaymakers who once endured lengthy journeys by road would, in time, travel comfortably by steam train to the foot of the Mourne Mountains. Those ambitious projects still lay in the future. For now, the Belfast and County Down Railway had achieved something remarkable. In little more than a decade, it had grown from a single line reaching Comber into an expanding railway system that was reshaping trade, travel, and daily life across County Down. Each extension strengthened the county's economy. Each station connected another community. Each train carried not only passengers and freight, but new opportunities for businesses, farmers, and families alike. The railway was no longer simply an engineering project. It had become part of the identity of County Down itself. Few people realized that the greatest years of the Belfast and County Down Railway still lay ahead. The network would continue to spread, reaching new towns, opening new branches, and helping create memories that would last for generations. but every great railway has defining moments. And the next chapter would see the Belfast and County Down Railway venture beyond its growing main line towards destinations that would become legendary in the history of Irish rail transport. If you've enjoyed this episode, please give the video a like and consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps support the series and ensures you won't miss the next chapter as we uncover the complete history of one of Ireland's greatest lost railway networks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.